I provide executive coaching and customized employee training for mostly local companies. It all comes down to people. It really does. No matter what the business is, the technical things, most of it I can learn, but it's the people skills that I bring to the table that I think are making the difference.
Welcome to another edition of the Living Boldly with Purpose. And it's so fun that I was just talking to Paul, and Paul's our guest here. We'll introduce him in a second. But we were just talking about the beginning of the year. So for those of you, I'm not sure when you're watching this, you might be watching this in July or something. And it is not the beginning of the year. But right now, as we are recording it, it's in January. Everybody is trying to figure out what their purpose is. They've made all these resolutions and goals and things that they're going to do. I was at the gym yesterday. It's packed. It's like, where did all these people come from? And why have they decided that today is the day they're going to lose weight? Which I hope that they stay consistent at it. And because when I think of all work working, Paul, it'll work if you put in the effort. Right? There's no matter what, but there's the good side and the bad side. The good side is you're in the gym. The bad side is that it's going to hurt a little bit. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be a habit. It's not going to be what you're used to doing. And so a lot of living boldly with purpose is, I know what my purpose is. I know what I need to start doing. But in order to live your purpose, when I think about that and truly doing it, you have to become the person you need to be in order to do the thing that you're doing. And so a lot of the things that I do, Paul, is just helping people become the person that they need to be in order to go do that thing. You think of, anxiety. I wrote a book that's called There's No Tiger that talks about overthinking. But then I started thinking about the opposite side of that, that you're worrying on that side of it. But what are your expectations? What are your aspirations? What are the things that you want to happen? When I think of expectations or, anticipation, I guess would be the other word of that. When you think of when you're a little kid and you're going to go to Disneyland, right? And you're thinking, you're so anticipating, or at night when Santa Claus is coming, and you're just waiting for that to happen, and your whole energy, your whole being, everything that you do is excited about it because you have energy into anticipation. Whereas on the other side of it, worry and anxiety, if we spend all of our time on that, oh my gosh, then now all the negative things, and we say, you're a magnet to whatever you're thinking about. So today, as we're talking to Paul, I'm going to let him tell his story. And then we're going to chop it up a little bit after that, because here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a piece of paper out. I don't want you to try to do it on your phone unless you're walking or driving. I don't want you using your phone at all if you're driving. But if you're walking, say, on a walk, exercising, don't try to write stuff down. You can talk to your phone. You'll be able to pause this because it's recorded. But write down some things that are similar, some things that you say, well, he did that. I could probably do that. He's super successful in this. What did he do to be successful? And take some notes of things that you think you could do. Like when I take notes, let's say I was watching Elon Musk on something, and he gets into the technical part of, how he was thinking of designing a Tesla. I can't do it. So I'm not going to take notes on that, because there's nothing in my mind, in my brain, that gives me the capability of doing that right now, right? Not now, not ever. But there are things that he talks about that, that's what he was thinking about as he decided. And write those things down so that you can start focusing on that anticipation. So, Paul, thank you for being on today. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to help us understand what it means to be purposeful, what it means to be successful, what it means to kind of walk in your shoes. So please start your story, and then we'll chop it up after that.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate having me on the show. It's great to be here and chat with you a little bit. My story is I don't think it's all that uncommon, right? But I grew up the youngest of 6 children, single parent household. My mom worked full-time in a factory. She worked in a garment factory all her life. In fact, she frequently had more than one job. There was part-time jobs on the weekend just to make ends meet for us, right? And youngest of 6, very northeast Pennsylvania, very industrial town, Scranton. Not a big city, but not a small little city, not a little town either, right? But medium size. But I learned a lot of things from my mom. She taught me, hard work and perseverance pays off. So I started my career, my work, I guess you might say, part-time at a grocery store in high school, right? Junior in high school, and I probably worked more hours than were legally permissible in those days. Let's leave it at that, right? But I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved working with people. A lot of fun, challenging but fun. It was what I liked. I enjoyed. Stayed there for a long time. Didn't initially go to college. I thought I was making good money. I was single. It was part-time. I worked about 35 hours a week at that point. Had health benefits. I was set, I thought, right? And then after a number of years, I thought I needed something more. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I decided I was going to go to school part-time initially. Didn't know what for. Took a couple classes and enjoyed it, and decided I was going to be a lawyer. I'll go be an attorney. They make good money, right? Why not be an attorney? So I started as a poli-sci major and started full-time. And one of the classes I had to take was an intro, and I remember this clearly, in the intro to personnel administration. And I really liked it. It was public administration, but it was personnel stuff. In those days, it was called personnel, right? Loved it. Really enjoyed the class. Just got into it. And the professor kind of knew that. I think he saw that in me. And fairly shortly after that, I decided it was time to switch majors and go into business management in the business school where I attended and switch majors. I thought, I don't know what I want to do, but I think it's in this field of personnel, basically. And I'm still working at that point in the supermarket business in a store, and liked it. I was working at school full-time and working full-time, basically, is what I was doing, putting myself through. And I finished up school in 3.5 years. Once I started, I thought, I'm going to finish. This is it. I went summers. I went winter break. I went fall. So I went all the time to school. I didn't take any breaks once I started. Finished up, and the supermarket chain, they had this management development program, and they said, hey, if you want to work in our personnel department, we have a spot in personnel for you for a while. I said, yeah, why not? A great opportunity. So what I did, I was responsible for doing the hiring for 80 stores within a 3-state region, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. And I traveled every week. I probably did anywhere from 800 to 1,200 miles a week, traveling from store to store, hiring people. It was a nonstop thing. A lot of it was part-time, high school kids, working moms who wanted a little extra income, retirees, whatever it might be. But we hired for these stores, and I loved it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And after about a year, my boss, the personnel director is what they called him at that point, he left the company to launch his own executive search business down in Tampa, Florida. He said, I'm going to Tampa. He said, hey, if you want to come with me, I'd love you to work and be part of my team in Tampa, Florida. But I was dumb, young, and single, and I thought, I don't know anybody in Tampa. My family's all here in Pennsylvania. I'm going to stay put. I think I like what I'm doing. I'll stay put and hope for the best. So I stayed there, and I stayed another year. And after 2 years of doing 800 to 1,200 miles a week, I thought, enough of this already. And they were pushing at that point to put me into it was a structured management development program. So they wanted me to go back into the stores, in the produce department, the meat department, the bakery, learn all the operations, and then become a store manager, a store leader. And I didn't want that. I knew I wanted to be in HR. I didn't want to be an operations kind of guy. Yeah. So I told them no politely. And I started looking for a new job, new career. And this is back in 1987, just to give you an idea of time frame. And at that point, the casino industry in New Jersey was really just taking off. It was the second legalized state in the country to have gaming. Nevada was first, obviously, and New Jersey came. And at that point, they were the only, it was Nevada or New Jersey. So they were doing well. And I made a phone call to my former boss. And I said, hey, do you know anybody in the industry down there in Atlantic City? He said, I happen to do. He said, I know a guy. He used to work for us in the supermarket business. He went to Atlantic City a couple of years ago. So I landed with Caesars in Atlantic City in employment, in human resources. And I loved it, enjoyed it, made a big move for myself. But it was, we had 5,000 employees under roof, right? So in HR, everybody was specialized.
Okay.
I was employment. We had a benefits manager. We had a employee relations manager. We had a labor relations manager. Everybody had their specialty. And I didn't have an opportunity to gain experiences in those other areas. It was always employment, hiring, orientation for new hires, transfers, promotions, things like that. Loved it, enjoyed it a lot, but I wasn't gaining other experience. And I wanted to become a generalist. I knew at some point I wanted more than that. So timing was everything. I spoke with a guy that I knew. I'd networked and built connections over time. And the court system in New Jersey, and it's kind of a weird thing, but they were undergoing a massive change. And I lucked out that the county that I was working in, the county I lived in, they were looking for an HR person, an HR manager to come join them. So I ended up with responsibility for my county and a neighboring county. We had 500 employees, 7 different physical locations. And I made the move into public sector, right? Government work. Never in a million years would I think I would have been a state employee, right? Never thought of it. Stayed there for 5 years. Met my wife during that time. And we had a baby came along the way. And after 2 years, my daughter was about 2 years old. We decided we wanted to raise her closer to my family, which was up in Pennsylvania. So I started looking for work in what was back home to me at that point. And I landed with a manufacturing company, a large international Swedish company, who specialized in, this is a crazy sounding things, but all they made were anything to do with the door opening, doors, locks, exit devices, door hinges, anything at all. They had a company somewhere in the world or more than one that did that. So I stepped into that role as the HR manager. We had a factory of about 280 people at that point. Enjoyed it. It was my first venture into manufacturing, totally different world. In a unionized environment. And I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I was home and my family was close by and we were doing well. And then they decided they were going to, after about 9 years, I guess it was, they decided they were going to start to consolidate their operations throughout the world. And that meant our factory was going to close and they were going to move it to Connecticut. And they were going to outsource a lot of product and bring it in from China. And I decided I didn't want to go to Connecticut. It didn't appeal to me. It was cold enough in Pennsylvania. Connecticut could even be worse, I thought. Well, we have this opportunity in Tennessee, in East Tennessee. If you want to come down there, so we came to Tennessee. We came to East Tennessee, outside of Knoxville. Company that they had owned for a number of years, but the company itself had been there for almost 60 years. And we made locks. We made door locks. Yale locks, highly regarded name in the industry and the business. Enjoyed it. Factory was about the same size, about 280 people. And I was there for about 3 years, and they decided they were going to consolidate and close that operation and move it to Connecticut. And again, I was offered another opportunity to go to Connecticut, and I said, I don't think I'm going back north. I think we're going to stay put and take my chances. We like the South. We like the people. We like the climate. I think we're going to stay put. So at that point, I started looking, and because we were closing the factory, we had a relationship with the local economic development agency, and they were responsible. They wanted to help our people, land new positions, new jobs, et cetera. And they were also responsible for bringing in new industry to the area. And a funny story is I get a call one day. We had closed the factory. I was still working. I was boxing up employee files. I was in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt because nobody was there. There was about 5 of us left in the building at that point. And I get a call from this woman at the economic agency saying, "Hey, can you be here for an interview today at 12 o'clock? She said, we have someone that wants to meet you. They're looking to hire an HR person." And I said, I'm not dressed for that. I said, "I'll run home and put a suit on and I'll be there at 12 noon. She said, "Great, perfect." So I ran home, put a suit and tie on, and fly back to this town close by. And I walk in, and there's maybe 8 or 9 people in this conference room, and one of them comes out to get me, and I knew by his accent that he wasn't from this country. He was an Italian guy, and I walk in, and there's 8 or 9 folks in the room. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what the business was. She couldn't tell me. It was still confidential. They hadn't announced anything yet. And they explained to me they were a tile company. They manufactured porcelain tile over in Italy. They had 3 factories over there, and they were coming to America. And they had decided they were going to build a factory in this little town that I was working in, close by. And I met with them. And my wife said on the way home, she said, "Well, how did the interview go? What'd you think?" And I said, "I'm not sure they understood half of what I said, and I'm not sure I understood half of what they said. The English was okay, and my Italian was non-existent. I couldn't speak a word of Italian at that point. But I said, I don't know. I think it went okay." And shortly thereafter, I had an offer from them, and I accepted it. I said, "Yeah, I'd love this. It's a great chance to be a part of a startup, a brand new business in this country." We hadn't even broken ground yet at that point. We had 3 acres of dirt and trees. There was nothing. And they told me up front, like, "We have no policies for America. You have to create everything. We don't even know where to begin on the HR side of things, and you'll have to do it all work. This is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be intense." So I knew that going in, but probably the best career decision I ever made. It really was. I mean, there were days where it was challenging and frustrating. It's startup is not easy for anybody. And we started a 400,000 square foot factory with about 120 employees at that point. And it was a crazy fast track, because from the day we broke ground to the day we put out our first piece of tile only took 10 months. And it is fascinating that the factory is highly automated, a lot of technology all the way through. Amazing to see. It really is. So I was there for 10 years. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I loved what I was doing, and then did everything. I was a generalist. I had responsibility for the whole thing. But in July of 21, my wife and I both got COVID, landed in the hospital. I was there for 4 days. She was in for 5. And, funny thing is that at my age, when you lay flat on your back, isolated in a hospital room by yourself, you start thinking a lot.
Of
and
course.
You wonder, what are you going to do? What's going to happen here? And a friend had kind of not convinced me, but he had talked to me to say, "I think someday you would be a great executive coach." He said, "I think you could do that. You could come work with me, or you could launch your own business. I would help mentor you. I really think you should." So when I laid in the hospital for 4 days, I thought about that a lot. I thought maybe now's the time. I don't want to really retire 100%. I still want to work and contribute. I want to do something a little different. So I came back to work in August, a couple of weeks later, and my boss was in Italy, Italian guy, and I said, "Hey, we need to talk." So we set up a video chat, and I said to him, "I'm going to leave in January. I'm going to launch my own business and do this thing. This is what I'm going to be doing," and all that. And his first words, and I'll never forget this, and I'm so ever grateful to him. He said, No. He said, you won't leave us. He said, "I will be your first client, your first customer." He said, "You sign me up today, and you come and go as you please. You work for whatever you want. Just help us through the transition. Teach the new person what you need to teach them." And so that I did it, of course, right? Why wouldn't I?
Of course, yeah, that's awesome.
Steady stream of income and tremendous flexibility and all that. So I jumped at that. I said, "Of course, I'll help you." And I still, when I talk about this company, Del Conca, the name is Del Conca USA, I still say we. It's hard not to say them, right?
Yeah, you're part of the beginning. You're part of the evolution, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's crazy. They they have an annual Christmas event, right? I still get invited to that every year. My wife and I go every year as part of the family, part of the group. It's just important to be there and get to see the people that I worked with for 10 years. And also, so it means a lot to me. So 3.5 years ago, I launched my own business. And what I do now is I provide executive coaching and customized employee training for mostly local companies, Knoxville area, within maybe an hour of where I live. We have a resort area here, probably 45 minutes from us. So I do some work down there. in the county I live in, and really the greater Knoxville area, in all kinds of industries, whether it's banking, hospitality, manufacturing, really everything, because it all comes down to people. It really does, no matter what the business is. The technical things, most of it I can learn, but it's the people skills that I bring to the table that I think are making the difference, and the wisdom or experiences that I've had over 35 years in human resources that make the difference. On a personal side, right now, where we're at, my daughter is married. She's 26. She'll be 27 in April. And we have one incredible granddaughter, right? She's just about a year old. She's incredible. And actually, my daughter's expecting again, but this time it's identical twin boys coming our way.
There you
So
go.
it's going from 1 to 3 in a few short weeks here. Actually, about 6 or 7 weeks, we'll have 2 more added to their family. So it'll be a little bit chaotic, but that's what it's all about. So that's my story in a nutshell, I guess, if I can.
Love it. No, that's great. Good.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I mean, I've been taking notes and writing down stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're in Tennessee now. You're going to stay in Tennessee. I'm assuming
Yes, absolutely.
you're not planning on going to Italy or nothing like that.
No. This is it.
Oh my gosh. One of the things that you started out in your story that I thought was, when I think of success, leaving clues, and what it takes to be successful. Because some people say, I go do this and I kind of try to climb the corporate ladder, and I don't know how many corporate ladders there are to climb anymore, because I just think we're in a different age than when you and I were starting out. But at the same time, the thing, as you said, was when your mom brought you up, she was a single mom. I'm sure you weren't like this family that had all these means, and you could do all these wonderful experiences and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
The budget was tight, but you said that she worked 2 jobs sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to think of anybody that I've ever talked to that's been successful that has made it by only doing one thing, by only doing one job and staying at that one job and only doing that. You talk about working at the grocery store and doing some other stuff. It's just something about people who are looking for something better that have the job. And so we create an identity through that. How do you think having that identity that your mom set for you and the example she set for you helped you propel or be successful in the different places that you went over time?
Yeah, it absolutely definitely did, right? I mean, she taught me the value of hard work more than anything, and yeah, things are going to be tough sometimes. There are going to be days that you wonder about life and about things and all that, but just keep plowing through, keep going, because if you stop, you might get stopped, right? So keep working hard at what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing, contribute. Don't be afraid to raise your hand and volunteer. Hey, I'll do that. Why not? That's a way for me to learn, for me to grow. I tell folks all the time, like if there's a project at work, even if you're not asked to be asked, right? Hey, I want to be involved in that. That's important to me. I think I could contribute. I think I could learn from that. Why not? You should do that. And you're going to learn from that, and they're going to respect you and trust you and say, hey, here's the guy or gal that we want for the next role that we got to fill. So yeah, I learned a lot from my mom. I really did. She's an incredible woman.
Nice. So to piggyback on that, what's kind of cool is you worked in HR or personnel or human resources, whatever we're calling it at this point, because now you not only have your stories, you have everybody else's story. You came into your office that had an issue, right? And so when I think about folks that are entitled or believe that they're entitled, that they, especially nowadays where I get to show up and I want to be the boss like yesterday, but I haven't gone through that hard work period. I haven't become the person I need to be this great employee, but I should be a manager, or I should be. How did you help people? Because I think you probably use a lot of this in your executive coaching. So how did you help people figure out, hey, wait a minute, no, you have to do some stuff before you can do what you're asking me to do or complaining about not being able to do? Or did you just get rid of people who did that? I mean, you can't just get rid of them, but
No. Yeah, no. And I think you make a great point. And I think the reality of that, I think the pandemic has only, now it's becoming less, I think lately in the last maybe 15 months or so, I don't know. But I think the pandemic sped up that kind of mentality and thinking, right? Because people were promoted fairly quickly during the pandemic. People were leaving. Seasoned leaders, experienced leaders were saying, I'm going to go start golfing. I'm going to go fishing. It's time to retire. Boomers like myself left the workforce in large numbers at that point. Now, a lot of them have returned. Some of them come back to work, but a lot left. So companies were almost forced to promote people much quicker than they normally would have, right? So that expectation got honed or developed even more. It really did. It was just a natural thing for people to think that. And I tell folks, like, you know, you have to think about, are you really, really ready, right? Do you really understand what it's going to mean when you have this employee situation or this budget issue or this crisis, etc.? And most often they don't have the answers or the knowledge or the wisdom or the expertise to make the right step. Not always, but most often they don't. They need something under their belt in order to be able to handle those things. They may be able to handle the day-to-day routine, normal kind of events. They've done a good job of being a front desk clerk or an accountant or whatever it might be. But when those tough times come along, are you really ready? Are you prepared to handle reductions in force? You know, how do you think you're going to handle that first time you have to tell 7 people that are getting laid off? What do you think? Right? Not so easy to do. So it's a matter of nurturing that thinking a little bit and saying, okay, well, what if this happens? What would you do? How would you respond? How would you react? What do you think? And when they can't have an answer, they don't have an answer, they know then they face this little reality check that, hey, maybe I do need a little more experience or time with something. I tell folks all the time, you know, you should mentorship, right? Couple things. I think you should have at least 2 mentors. One is a technical mentor that can mentor you on the technical aspects of your job, right? I may, like, put me in a engineering office, I would fail miserably. I would need an expert, absolutely, right? And you should also have a people mentor, someone that really has great people skills that you can learn from, that you admire and respect, and see how they treat people and how people respect them, etc. And then the other thing is, no matter where you're at in your career, be a mentor to someone else, right? Teach them, show them. You're a year or 2 ahead of them. You have things under your belt that you can share with them. And being a mentor and having these mentors, you will learn so much along the way. It's a win-win for everybody. It really is. So I got off track a little bit, but that's my.
Oh, no, you went exactly where I think we should go, because when I think of, like, you talked about putting in the work, right? Where you drove the 800 miles, right? You drove 1,200 miles a week. You were willing to work those extra hours. But I think since the pandemic, everybody said, well, no, I'm only going to work 8 hours. And as soon as I'm going to work my 8 hours, I'm going to clock out. And as soon as I clock out, you can't call me at night and ask me about anything. You're going to have to wait in the morning, because I'm only going to. And then I'm thinking, as an employer, going, wait a minute. One, you're not going to grow because you're not willing to put in the extra amount of time. And then, which is okay, but then you can't have this expectation that you're going to make $250,000 a year, or you need to pay me $125,000 a year when you will only work, this little bit. So now your alternative then is to go do it yourself. Oh my gosh. Okay. So not an issue, right? You're exactly fine. But you said I got to have a technical coach if I'm going to go do it by myself. So whatever it is that I'm going to go do, if I'm not the expert in it already, I got to quickly become it. I'm going to have somebody in my corner that's going to help me. You said I got to have a people mentor, because if you're in business for yourself, for those of you who are watching me, I want you to kind of look in the camera right now and listen to me, because you somehow don't believe this. But if you are in business for yourself, you are in sales, my friend. You might not want to be a salesman. You might want to think about sales. You might not. But if you are in business for yourself, there's some kind of product or service that you are giving to the community, and you have to sell yourself on it. So a people mentor or a people coach is vitally important, especially if, let's say that you put cell phones together, you're at a corporation, you were a manager, you're doing all that kind of stuff. Well, now you're out starting your own company. Yeah, you're going to have to do what the salespeople did in order to do that, right? And you probably don't have those people skills yet that allow you to market who you are. And then the thing I thought you said was the best is the training piece. or mentoring myself. I need to mentor somebody else.
Yeah,
Because if communication and relationships are super important, and I think that's what I hear Paul telling us that if you are only getting somebody pouring into you, but you're not pouring into somebody else, then you're missing one half of the communication side. Because you need to be able to
100% agree. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and now as you're doing your executive coaching and stuff, and you're talking to these people, because I'm just, the people don't want to put in the work. They only want to make 8 hours, or make all this money, only want to work, and they want to go golf and play, which is, I have zero issue with that, and figure out how to spend your time, as long as when you are working, you know what you're doing. So how do you help people figure this whole thing out in our new society, different than when you and I grew up?
Yeah, no, it's a matter of trying to identify, what really is your vision or your purpose. Why do you think you're here? What do you want? When at your funeral, you want them to read your resume and your work stuff. Okay, that's great if that's what you want. But maybe there's more than that. Maybe there's a lot more than that you want to be able to say or have people say about you. You have to decide that and then pursue that, right? So and this is kind of a James Clear thing, right? Like Atomic Habits. Every decision we make is like casting a ballot for who we're going to become or where we're going to go or what we're going to do. And that's not exactly how he says it, but that's the gist of it. So I think if we know what that vision is, we focus on it. Whatever we focus on, we get results for. Those results are improved generally if we focus more. Just got to know what that is and keep it in front of us all the time and go for that in everything, right? Every decision I make has to point me to that North Star, so to speak. And if it doesn't, then I probably shouldn't be doing it, right? It's not what I'm here for. It's not my purpose.
And when I think of purpose, I don't know, maybe you can help me find. To me, everybody's purpose is in a way somehow they're serving others in some way. I don't know if you can have a purpose, and maybe it's possible, that doesn't serve others. And then if you're working in it, how are you doing that, and how have you put that together? Like if I feel like I'm working in purpose and I'm actually happy, like I want to get up in the morning and I want to do what I've been purposed for, can you think of a way that doesn't serve others? And then if you can't, like, what are ways that you've been able to serve others through living in your purpose?
No, I think you're exactly right, Doctor. I think, if you can have a purpose and not serve others, I can't imagine or know what that is. It's beyond me. It really is. I think I'm here to help in whatever way that's meant to be. Sometimes I don't know what that is, right? It's like, I don't know that I've done the right thing. I hope I have, but I'm not sure. And in HR, it's crazy, but you have those good stories and you have those bad stories, those employee situations that just didn't go the way you would have liked, or that they went sour, they went bad and all that. And I learned from those. I look back and say, okay, maybe I could have done this differently or that differently. Maybe it would have turned out better. I don't know. But I also look at the ones that were successes, the ones that really did work well and went well and all. And I have letters from employees that I've kept for decades, literally decades, thanking me for whatever I did, right? Because once in a while I need to pull those out, look at them and get reminded of, oh yeah, you were doing the right thing. And you're contributing to something that was positive, encouraging, whatever it might be. So I look at those and a handwritten note goes a long way, especially in this day and age, right? They're few and far between, but even that email that someone sends and says, hey, thank you for taking that extra time, or you don't know what it meant to me when you sat down and we chatted about XYZ or whatever it might be. Or now in the coaching side of things, if somebody comes back to me and says, hey, guess what? I got that promotion we talked about 3 months ago. Great. That's what it's all about. That's what it's for, right? That's the purpose.
When you think about, and we're kind of on this serving others portion here, and you think of your HR things, scenarios that went well and then resolved really well, and the ones that went bad. if the people that were, if everybody who showed up to work were kind of showing up to work thinking that they were going to serve the people that were there and they were going to, for the greater good of the organization, the company, do you think you would have any of the hard problems, like for most of all the hard problems, because people were thinking about themselves in almost every situation?
Yeah, yeah. And I think I believe in my heart. I think most folks, they come to work wanting or hoping to do a good job. I don't think they come to work thinking, I'm going to go make his life miserable or her life miserable today, and let me screw up and do this wrong. I don't think that's the case. I think they come with good intentions. I've got to assume positive intent, etc. But yeah, if they're there with the right attitude, and that's more than half the battle. It really is. I can teach them the technical skills. I can do that. I can make that happen through repeated training, through whatever videos, whatever it might be. I can show them how to put these widgets together, or how to, whatever it might be, right? But it's the mindset of, I want to do this and I want to do it well. I want to be proud of what I'm doing. If they have that, there's no limits. I think it's virtually unlimited is what they can accomplish and what they can do.
Gotcha. One of the things that I know in the culture that I'm from, that we don't talk about money, and we don't, as we're growing up, we don't get these classes in what to do with our finance and our money. And I think a lot of the problems that arise where people get angry and people struggle and people, aren't able to achieve and live in purpose is because they haven't figured out this money thing. And that ends up being, I talk about going to be, do, have, where you become the person you need to be, so you can do the things so that you can have the results of being the person and doing the thing. But we do it so backwards, right? We go do something, so I'm going to go, run to work, do something. Then I'm going to go buy something so I can have it, right? I'm going to go buy this brand new car. I really can't afford it, but I haven't become the person that can make that amount of money that really can afford that car. And so we kind of have it backwards. Sometimes we go have be do. We just go buy the car and then, okay, now go get a job, and then do something and then try to become the person they want me to do and maintain it. In your life or your experience, when you think about what are some key things that a person has to do with their money, or think about or know upside, because it's got to be part of your, when you're training about some executive, money has to be part of the conversation. We can't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you painted a very classic, at least to this point, picture. I really do. The good thing is, and I'm not saying this is incredibly widespread, but we're starting to see companies starting to offer financial wellness pieces as part of their benefits packages. Hey, we have this financial wellness thing. We want you to talk to a financial advisor. We want to bring in folks to have sessions for all the employees, the entire team, to learn more about their 401k, or learn more about budgeting, or whatever it might be. So it's becoming, I won't say common, right? It's not every day, every company, but we're seeing more and more of it than ever before. And most companies are saying, hey, we want you in the seat, in the room. We want you to hear this firsthand from an expert. So I think companies have the right approach to it at this point. And I think younger folks, especially in particular, they are more inclined to participate and engage in that, right? Older folks, like, we're set in our ways, right? We've learned different than they have. So I think we're seeing a shift. It's just not this big wave that's going to happen automatically. It's going to take some time for it to change a little bit.
Yeah, what came to mind just as you were talking is the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, or Vacation, whatever, with Chevy Chase in it, and they're going to Wally World, and he comes out and he's not getting his bonus for to be able to do the pool or whatever he wanted to do. And his whole life, because we chase these beliefs and we get upset because I'm not making the promotion fast enough, because I've already went and committed this amount of money to something that I wanted, which I have no issue. Hey, get whatever you want. I think that's why we're working, right? And then you have the people inside tell you that money's not important. I tend to think it's up there with oxygen. because everybody I know who doesn't have enough says it's hard to breathe. And then I just know that it interacts my life every single day. There's not a second in the day. I have an electric bill, right? So there's not a second in the day that I'm not spending money. And then if I don't have those tools, and you were talking about mentors, I saw the technical and the people mentor and the, training somebody, but I almost think you almost have to have at least a money mentor or people in your life that can teach you those good habits, because I think the money game has changed a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
It really has. And so, and I ask people about budgets and they're like, huh? And then there's, when you think like, and maybe you can kind of, help me how you transition that, because when we were kids, we're not too far away from age. I remember everybody writing checks at the grocery store and to pay bills. And I remember like actually seeing cash, and there's times I go by and there's no cash. It's just like these numbers on a screen that light up that represent the value of money, but there's not this physical, when you worked at the grocery store and you got a tip or something like that, that cash, that like, I don't want to give you all my cash because I don't have it anymore. But we don't see that anymore, right? It's just numbers. Like we don't see our accounts. How did that transition for you? Just make sure you were on track with stuff. I mean, were you amazing?
I like a lot of other folks probably done the hard way. A lot of folks say, hey, when I get to this point, it's going to be different. When I get to this salary or this number, it's going to be different. It's going to be easier. It's going to be better. But the reality is when we get a salary increase, right, most of us, we automatically live to that new level, to that new means. And shortly thereafter, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, we're already at that new level. We don't know. We don't even remember how much that increase was a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever it might be. We don't. It's human nature. It's who we are. So the good thing is the access to financial advisors these days is much more available than it was when I was 22 years old, for example, right? In those days, you had to have money in order to have a financial advisor, right? You had to have bucks. Now, financial advisors will talk to you. They'll come out and meet with you. They'll help you. Here's a budget. Here's what you should be planning. Here's what you should be thinking. Consider this, consider that. They're the experts. And I think they're just more readily available. So I think folks going forward, it should be easier for them. I really do.
So we talked about having a side hustle or doing something different than your normal job that you're doing, because you probably, if you're trying to move into this world that we believe is success. And I think that's got to be different for everybody and not just what we see on TV. But now you jump into the entrepreneur side of things and you're saying, okay, what kind of things do you, whether you're teaching people or you had to do it yourself, do you have to look at? Because now you're asked to spend a whole bunch of money, time, and effort on things that you may not know. Like we say, oh, well, I need a people coach, right? Well, a people coach costs money, unless I can go to the library and try to find one. But I haven't seen very many people coaches at the library, But there are very many successful people that are willing to spend time talking to you about stuff. How do you figure out, because you're just throwing everything at so many different things all the time, to try to balance? Because if you don't have a steady income coming in, and maybe that's part of the key is don't become an entrepreneur without, stay working, so that you can afford all your other stuff while you do it, instead of taking all these risks. Because if you're risk adverse and you try to jump into this world, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Not a good place to be. Not a good place to be. And I tell folks that are even thinking about being an entrepreneur, for example, it's like, don't think you're gonna quit your W-2 job and next week you're starting this entrepreneur journey. If you don't have relationships, and I don't necessarily like the word network or networking, because that has a different connotation, but it really is about building relationships with people that trust you, believe you, know you, that can recommend you, support you, endorse you, help you along the way. that's a big part of it. It's a big part of it, right? I can't just quit today and next week I'm starting and I'm going to start going to every networking event there is. It's not going to do anything until I start to know these people a little bit, right? Hey, who's this new guy? He's trying to sell me something. We're all in sales. You said that earlier, right? And so true, right? Well, and make the mistakes, fail early if you're going to fail, right? Fail small, right? But fail early so you can learn from them and grow from them. And I made those mistakes when I launched the business. I thought, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to advertise. I didn't need to do that. I needed to build relationships with people more than I already had, right? That was part of the business, part of growing the business.
Well, yeah, because when somebody tries to tell you it's not who you know, no, it is who you know, because especially when you're getting started.
Yeah.
And if you don't know people, go get to know people because it's who you know, right? And so you say, don't go to all the networking events. Yeah, because some of those networking events are not going to help you find the who. They're not going to help you find the mentor that you need. There's networking events that cost money, at the beginning. And if you don't have money, don't spend the money on networking because there's a whole bunch of people. We have social media, right? There's all kind of people that you can network with, for the BHIs or the BIs, whatever they're saying. Oh, pay us money for these coaching things, and you get to be the only mortgage professional in the room, and you get to be the only attorney in the room, and you can network with each other. Yeah, that's just, if you're just getting going and you're starting and you might coach folks if you're, doing some executive coaching for people who work at a large company and they're C-suite people to go be part of some of those masterminds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can't just go jump into everything. You have to, kind of budget that out. Like this is the amount of money I have to get going. And this is, how much I can spend. You should have budget from, and I don't know how much marketing type stuff is needed in that case, but I wouldn't spend a lot of money on ads either. I mean, it's unless you just got to, and the industry so well, you're going to get the return,
right?
No,
it really does. It varies from person to person and business to business industry, but just in my own personal experience, most of my business has been word of mouth referrals, organically grown, people that I've known over time. Hey, you should talk to him. I think he could help you, that kind of a thing. I did spend money on advertising in the beginning, some things, and really didn't do a whole lot for me. And I learned quickly, like, okay, don't throw money there again. That's probably not a good option. But it's a matter of timing too, right? You got to be in the right place at the right time. I'm not saying don't network. And I think you're right. There's tons of networking, whether it's paid or unpaid, whether it's a local chamber event or whether it's a BNI thing or whatever. There's tons of opportunities out there, tons of them. And you may meet the right person there too. It can happen, right? I'm not saying don't network. You've got to network as well. But I think it's really about creating relationships and making them understand that, hey, this guy brings some value to the table. He can help me and I can get helped by them as well. Hey, let me help you with your business or whatever it might be. There's a relationship there that gets created. I have clients that 3.5 years later, they may not be a client now, but we're still in constant contact. We still talk on a regular basis or check in. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? That kind of a thing. It happens all the time.
Yeah, the power of follow-up is one of the greatest superpowers you could possibly have is, if you're in it for the long term. Question about, we all have when we try to venture out and we try to become and living in our purpose, and I think that there's always the naysayers and the negative Nellies and the people that will try to talk you out of doing the thing that God put you on this planet to do. How do you help people through that or not listen to some of the noise? Because there's so many people that I think could have been so successful and so powerful that got caught up in others telling them that they weren't enough.
Yeah, there's a couple things I think, and one is my wife, right? There were people that said to me when I was leaving my employer, and I had a great job, good people to work with and work for. They couldn't have treated me better. And people said, "What are you, crazy? You're going to leave a good W-2 job with a steady income and you've got it made there. Like, what are you doing? Are you sure about this? And, and all that. And my wife, the cheerleader that she is, she said, if this is what you want to do, go for it. Just do it, right? Don't doubt. Don't go for it. Pursue it, right? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? The worst thing. Maybe I'd have to look for a new job if this one doesn't pan out. I don't know, right? And I tell folks all the time, it's a matter of, somebody say, well, someday I'm going to do this. Someday may never come. With that mindset, that thinking, you're never going to be 100% ready. And done is better than perfect, right? You're going to wait for that perfect opportunity, the perfect timing, the perfect situation. Well, when the kids are out of college, I'm going to do this or whatever it might be. That may never happen, right? So if you believe in yourself and you want to pursue this, do it now. Get started. Do something to take those steps forward and move the needle just a little bit now. Maybe you can't do it full time like that tomorrow or next week, next month, but start your path. Start marching down that road a little bit. And the timing will happen. It'll occur if it's meant to be and you're really sincere and passionate about it. It'll happen. It'll come together for you.
That's awesome. I got this little calendar from the bank the other day, as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I look on it, it says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but I don't see Sunday on here.
Exactly.
Where do I find Sunday? Got Monday and Friday, but there's no Sunday. And I think, if you have that mentality that it's going to happen someday. Someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to do all these things. And then that's where that anxiety and everything jumps in because we concentrate on things that we believe will never happen. And we don't even try to make them happen.
Yeah.
That's where the coach comes in.
Yeah. And the other question to ponder and think about is, if I don't do this, what's that going to look like? What's that going to be? Am I going to be here for the next 7 years doing this? Is that what I want? Probably not. If I'm thinking about something else, I probably want that something else.
Oh, that is so true. I finished a book. It's coming out this month. It's called The Decision Formula. And it's based on some of the things you're talking about. So, the first part is reversible decisions, irreversible decisions. You already answered that one time because, you cut off your leg, you're going to get it amputated. That's irreversible. Your leg's not growing back, right? But if you're going to move to Tennessee, then if you don't like it, you can move back to Pennsylvania, right? I mean, it's reversible. The other part is the disciplines that you have to be able to do it. I mean, if you want to be a world-class swimmer, you can't spend 2 days a week at the pool. It just doesn't work. You got to have the disciplines that do it. But the other part is the cost. What is the cost involved in doing it? The thing that you say that you're going to do, because if you're not willing to pay the cost, then you probably shouldn't venture out and doing the thing. Because it might be more time. You can't just do the 8 hours a day. You might have to do 9 hours a day. You can't, it might be that you have to spend more time talking to people. And if you don't like talking to people, then you can't do it. You need to go get you somebody who can help you learn to talk to people. Man, we talked about a whole lot. I got lots of notes and stuff here that just been a breadth and wealth of information you've given us, Paul. What is something we didn't talk about or something you wanted to talk about that you would love to share? Maybe some things that you're doing that you want people who might be involved in. What are some of the things that we didn't get to talk about?
Yeah, I love to. I do a lot of coaching. I do it in person. I also do it virtually, which is a lot of fun. And a new tool in my toolbox, I guess you might say, is a thing called Lego Serious Play. And at first it sounds kind of crazy. It sounds kind of like this is ridiculous, but literally, I can send this little kit of Legos to someone anywhere in the world, and we use those to do coaching sessions with them. And it's pretty amazing the things people say when they start talking about what they've built. I'll say, okay, build whatever. I don't know. Build the challenge you have at your workplace. And they build this challenge and they start explaining what these bricks mean. It's pretty fascinating to hear what comes out of their mouth and all that, because they're playing with toys, right? Is what they think. And subconsciously, they're really not. It's much deeper than that. So I love it. It's a fun tool. And I'm thrilled I got my certification in it and all that. So it's a blast to use, and I love it. It's just a lot of fun. The other thing is there's a Simon Sinek video, and he talks about leadership, and he talks about learning to be a leader. And he says, it doesn't happen in a day. It's kind of like I brush my teeth today, not much changes. I go to the gym today, not much changes. I go 2 days, not much changes. 3 days, not much changes. But if I keep doing it consistently over time, I stick with it, it has impact. And I think it's the same thing for leadership. Learning to be a better leader takes time. It takes consistency. It takes discipline. It takes effort. And I can't give up when I have a setback, right? I can't say, this is not for me, right? Because there are going to be setbacks. There are days I forget to go to the gym. That's okay. There's day 2 or 3 around the corner. I can start up and get back on it again. Same thing with leadership.
I think Maxwell said, if you're a leader and you don't have anybody following you, you're only taking a walk.
Yeah. I love John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell. He's got some great stuff. He really does.
Oh my gosh, 80-some books and whatever. But he's so right it's a muscle, right? We're not just, people say, were you born leaders? No, you were born with the propensity to be able to lead, but it's a skill set, something that has to be honed, that has to be worked on, that has to be, and some people get that leadership by position, right? Because you got, like you said, during the pandemic, they got, advanced because somebody left. But if they don't have that skill set in order to, go lead through, and I'm sure as an HR manager, you know exactly what it looks like when it falls apart.
Absolutely. And unfortunately that happens. I mean, we take our most technical proficient person, whether it's in a factory, whether it's in a bank, whether it's a hotel, and we say, okay, now you're a leader, but we don't prepare them to be a leader. We don't give them the training they need, the support they need. Hey, just go do it, because you're a good teller. So you could be the head teller. You could be the supervisor of the bank. It doesn't work.
I mean, you think about like Michael Jordan, right? Probably the greatest basketball player that ever walked on the planet, is not a coach.
Yeah.
He coached his talent, right? I mean, the things he was able to do, another person, even LeBron can't do some of the same things that nobody else can do it. And so when you go coach, I mean, some of the greatest coaches, and I just want to piggyback on that. Like, you think of Bill Belichick, whether you believe he's a cheater or not, right? one of the greatest coaches in the history of the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't play football,
right?
Right. So you have to be able to do the thing that in order to be a great. So there's so much into getting out of people the best of themselves.
Yeah,
and that's what a great coach does.
Yeah, the Belichick example is a great example. I love that.
Yeah. So, but Paula, thank you for being on today. I mean, if you want to do Legos, how can somebody do Legos with you? Because that sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'd love for. In fact, what I like to do is any time I speak or talk to a group or whatever, I always throw out there, if anybody wants a complimentary coaching session, just to understand what it is and how it might be helpful to them, they can reach out to me at paulboyles.com, my website, and there's a contact us form. They can contact me, send me a little email, or my email is execcoach@paulboyles.com. I'd love to give a complimentary session to anybody that's listening on your show if they want to reach out and chat with them and see if I can help them in any way, see if coaching is right for them.
Is there a portion of coaching that you specialize in, or is it like corporate folks or entrepreneurs, or
it's a little bit of everything? In all honesty, it's a lot of corporate folks. It's a lot of people that are not sure of where they're at in their career, whether it be a financial advisor, an insurance person, whatever it might be, right? They're, hey, I'm not sure that I'm doing the right thing, or my business isn't what I want it to be. I want it to be here and it's only here. Or I want to grow to the next level. So it's a real mix of clients and folks. It's interesting how it comes about. It really is.
Oh, that's cool. So great. So if you're stuck, or you believe you want to move to new heights and new levels, and you were listening to us talk and you realize, wait a minute, I don't have a coach. I've been trying to do this by myself and I'm not doing a very good job of it. And here's what I'll tell you: as you step up in levels, you should have different mentors that can help you continue to move up if you want to continue to move up. Because the same people who got you where you're at are probably not the same people who can get you to where you want to go. And so it's a great idea to jump on a phone. It's a free consultation call. talk to Paul. He will be able to help you. He'll get you some Legos in some ways. You get to play. I do it with my grandkids all the time, but we're probably not talking about the stuff that's going to move them to the next level. But we are using imagination, which I think is the highest level of value anyways. And so, Paul, again, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to be part of what we do. And go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and hit the notification button. We have so many great interviews of people that are successful at the level that you probably want to be at. And so take advantage of watching those and listen to them. We will look forward to seeing you guys all on the next show. Have a great, wonderful day.
Thank you.